Welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We are talking Cubs offseason moves right now. We talked about the coaching staff and all the moving parts that went with that. And, it looks like, it should be a nice, fresh coaching staff. And we were also talking about the players and how, will Arrieta re-sign with the Cubs or will he go off somewhere else? We're going to move on to the position players right now, though. And, there's a lot of people that could possibly be traded for starting pitching. I know a name that comes to mind is Chris Archer, somebody that the Cubs are probably interested in, especially now that they have Jim Hickey, his pitching coach. So, out of Schwarber, Happ, Almora, Russell, Baez, out of like the pieces that could possibly be traded, do you think they would make a move for somebody like Chris Archer and get rid of some guys like that?
It really depends. It's not which one of those guys, it's how many of them you're going to have to give up. And the one thing that as the years are progressing that the Cubs are going to be, that won't be in their advantage is years of control, where Russell only has 4 years of control left, which would be the same amount Archer has, including his team options. So they're not as appealing anymore because Tampa Bay probably doesn't want a Scott Boras client with only 4 years of control left.
True.
And the thing with Russell is, you'd like to, and it all comes down to, the new hitting coach, new hitting philosophies. And I don't see Schwarber getting traded and one of the reasons that I just don't see it unless the Cubs are overwhelmed with an offer for a starting pitcher is because when they promoted their minor league hitting coordinator, which is the guy that Schwarber was working with when he was sent back to AAA this year.
Yeah.
They must have liked what they saw and now they don't want to just bring in some new face. They want these guys to have kind of the same guy to work with.
Right.
And I think they liked what they saw from Kyle Schwarber's swing after he came back up.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he did have a nice second half. He batted, 240-something, and he did get the 30 home runs, which was pretty impressive for a guy that was, out for 2 weeks in the minor leagues.
Right, and he was really good in August and September. That's when you really started to see the improvements.
Yeah, he started to go the other way a lot, and, he still hit his bombs, which was impressive.
That's just kind of the thing you want to see, like the guys that struggled. You want to see how they rebound this year, Addison Russell and Kyle Schwarber. And with Addison Russell, the thing that I'm interested to see is how he molds with Chili Davis, or more of how all of the offensive guys mesh with him because he's regarded as such a good hitting coach.
Yeah, I mean, he made Mookie Betts a star as far as hitting, Xander Bogaerts. These are guys that I feel like without somebody like Chili Davis, they wouldn't be as highly regarded. I think it was a really smart move for the Cubs to get Chili Davis.
Right, and I think they weren't planning to fire John Maley. It was just more of a that he became available.
Right.
Just kind of like they weren't planning to fire Rick Renteria. Joe Madden became available, and you had to jump on it. Because remember, Chris Bosio was fired shortly after the Dodgers eliminated them.
Yeah, it was a few days.
Right, yeah, it was a few days. I think they lost on a Thursday, and it was announced on Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
However, it was about a week after that John Maley and Gary Jones were fired.
Right, and the Gary Jones thing, we didn't talk about that either. He was there for a long time, wasn't he? He was with the Cubs for a while. I think longer than all the other coaches, right?
Actually,
to be
I got a trivia question for you. Who's the Cubs' longest tenured coach?
Longest tenured coach currently, or out of the team from last year, or current?
Who on the coach? We can include the guys that were fired. Who was there the longest?
I thought it was Gary Jones.
It is not.
But okay. Well, there's somebody. Lester Strode.
Yep, it's Lester Strode, the bullpen coach.
Yeah.
He's survived a lot of coaching staff overhauls.
I'm surprised because the bullpen was not good. So, but I mean,
they must like. I remember John Baker was raving. I mean, like, remember when John Baker pitched against the Rockies?
Yeah.
He was raving about how, like, literally in his short bullpen, session to warm up, Lester Strode taught him how to throw a cutter, or a two-seamer, and to get a little change on it, and, throw a little change up. just in a short bullpen session.
Who could forget that John Baker game?
He said Lester Strode got him ready when he was warming up, taught to get a little cutting action and two-seam tailing action on the ball, maybe throw a little change up, and he was able to get it. He was able to get the win.
Well, he pitched a scoreless inning, that's for sure. So
and scored the game-winning run.
Yeah, so that was pretty exciting on a team that was not good in 2014. Going back to the position players, I think Happ is a guy that they're going to actively try to look to trade. Just because they haven't, just because he hasn't even played like a full season with the Cubs, and I do think Theo and Jed still like Schwarber.
He's
and
a guy that comes with 6 years of control left,
right?
And that could be big in trade negotiations.
Although he did play really well, and it would kind of suck to have him go. He came up in early June or something, or mid-May, something like that.
Homer against the Cardinals in his first game.
Yeah, and he hit 20-plus bombs, or
he hit 255, showed good plate discipline. He can switch hit.
Yeah.
Probably will be a better outfielder than Kyle Schwarber, although Schwarber made improvements. Obviously, there's still going to be some sort of misadventures in left field trying to field balls, except he improved, and he had some really strong throws, some very strong, accurate throws throughout a few guys at the plate.
Yeah.
Obviously, he missed that ball in Game 3 of the NLDS that actually resulted in the only run Jose Quintana gave up in Game 3.
Right.
However, he showed improvements. Maybe at some point he can develop into maybe an average outfielder if they elect to keep him, because I feel like Theo and Jed are just so high on him that they don't want to trade him. And I think it's kind of like with the whole Javi Baez thing, like when the Cubs were trying to trade for Tyson Ross in the summer of 2015, and
right.
The Cubs and the Padres, they were trying to trade Castro in a package for him, and the Padres wouldn't do it unless they got Baez, and the Cubs said no. And I remember thinking, if they trade Baez, they're going to regret it. Fortunately, they held on to him, and then you remember the trade deadline of 2016. Supposedly, the Cubs are trying to trade for Drew Pomeranz, so that they could flip him in a package for a pitcher whose name was not in the trade rumors. Still don't know what pitcher that was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Except they couldn't get the Drew Pomeranz trade to go through because the Padres wanted Javier Baez, and the Cubs refused to trade Javi Baez.
Yeah, and so far it's worked out, especially because last year you had the Russell injury. He was out for almost the whole season, and you had Javi Baez fill in that shortstop role really well. So I think it's important to keep both of those guys. You're not going to find a better infield in Major League Baseball right now.
Right, especially defensively, where you got Anthony Rizzo, Addison Russell, Javier Baez. And I couldn't believe this when they announced the Gold Glove Award nominees, how Ben Zobrist was one of the second base finalists.
You could have had Contreras, or like as far as like other Cubs that were worthy of Gold Glove nominations, you could have had Contreras, you could have Bryant even out there.
I don't know about Bryant. Not when you got guys like Arenado.
No, I understand. I'm just saying.
I don't think Bryant's ever going to be a Gold Glove finalist.
I'm just saying, as other Cubs, like I see Rizzo, I see Hayward on the list, and I'm like, Zobrist is on the list?
Well, it's not that he was on it. It's that he was at second base over Baez, and I'm pretty sure Baez played more games at second base than Zobrist and had a much better defensive rating.
I don't think he did, because he was at short so much because of the Addison Russell injury.
He wasn't injured that long. I know he played more games at second than...
He was out like the whole summer, I think, Russell. Like almost the whole summer.
It was more, I think...
It was on and off, but...
Yeah.
It
was just a rough year for Addison Russell, and then...
I think we'll see a big improvement this year. I mean, if he can stay healthy, I mean, he drove in almost 100 runs in 2016.
Yeah, one thing he needs to work on, though, is making hard contact, because he makes a lot of soft contact. And even though he drove in 95 runs in 2016, he batted .238.
Right.
Just keep improving your walk and strikeout rates, start making harder contact, and I think we'll see that with Chili Davis.
And I think it's important, if they hold on to Hayward, if he has a good year, I think it'd be important to have, because originally I think they wanted Hayward to bat second. Technically,
he was batting second at the beginning of 2016,
and then
when
Chris
he couldn't
Bryant
hit.
had to bat second, and that kind of I think Bryant lost a lot of production because of that. Instead of him batting third, which is where I think he should be.
Yeah, I really liked it when they had Schwarber second, Bryant third, Rizzo fourth, because Schwarber's going to see more fastballs with Bryant and Rizzo behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And because he gets on so much, he doesn't have the pressure of being the leadoff guy.
Yeah, he walks.
And I think we might see Albert Almora as the leadoff hitter next year. I think
that's smart.
I think he showed enough improvements towards the end of last year.
He was really the only one that was hitting in the playoffs.
Particularly against right-handed pitching, the improvements he made over the course of the season, that they might view him as their everyday center fielder now. And he batted leadoff in most of the games against the Dodgers.
Yeah, and he played really well. And,
he plays a good center field.
I hope he's not somebody that they're looking to shop, because I think that would be a big mistake. I think he's one of their best contact hitters, and I think it's definitely time now for him to be starting every day in center field.
See, I feel like with Almora, if you're going to trade him, it's going to have to be in a package for a more proven center fielder. That's just my opinion. Like, I'd be absolutely okay if they tried to package him up to the Atlanta Braves for Ender Inciarte, because there you've got a Gold Glove center fielder with much more speed than Almora. He's got a pretty decent arm. He's a leadoff hitter, and he gets on base.
I just don't like, I see this on social media. I don't like how people are saying, they need to re-sign Jay. Jay's better than Almora, blah, blah, blah. No, disagree.
I would actually be shocked if they don't re-sign John Jay. I think they liked what he provided from a veteran standpoint and his role as a pinch hitter, and he even filled in as the leadoff hitter for a few weeks, and
he did. He
played
well.
very well.
But is he better than Almora? I don't think so.
I mean, I don't think it would be like a platoon like it kind of was this past year. I think Almora will be handed, as long as he has a good spring training, he'll be handed the everyday job, and Jay will be on the bench, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm all right with that too. We're going to take a break. We'll come back. There's more to talk about. We'll talk about the Bears and Packers game coming up on Sunday. We'll talk about how the Bears season has gone so far, coming off of a bye week. They're 3-5 and not nearly as bad as you'd think. So we'll talk about that next, coming up on Sports Renegades, sportsnowchicago.com.